Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Badgers Heavy Hitters. I'm sitting down with my boy Jay. We've mostly been just having some laughs, reminiscing on the old days. What we consider funny back then definitely wouldn't be funny today. And, real men still fuck up. It's a fact. It's what we do after we fuck up that defines us today. And Jay's come a long way. I've come a long way. And, I don't know, fucking I'm grateful for where I am today, and Jay seems pretty grateful for where he is. We're waiting on some Habit burgers right now. Magic's wife went to get some burgers, and, for those of you who want to donate to help with those burgers, we appreciate it, because this is killing me between the cameras. So you spent some time on some yards. You had mentioned outside that you were smoking in the execution chamber. Why don't you bring a little story about that to us?
Well, I was a tier tender. That means you sweep and mop the tiers or whatever little job assignments the officers have for you.
11 cents an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is San Quentin's gas chamber. It smells like pine sol, I know, because I put it there. And we smoked a little bit of weed in there because nobody's back there. It was a good spot to go back and smoke your little joints.
No point man necessary.
No, because you're locked out of everything.
They actually locked you in there.
Everything.
Right.
But it's a cozy little room, None of that stuff seems to bother you when you're there. In Old Folsom, they still have the gallows where they used to hang guys. There's a lot of bad stuff, but there's also, I think, humor carried me through a lot of it. When you first come into a prison, after you've gone through reception, you hit a mainline yard, they put you on 2-week CTQ, and then you go to the
confined to quarters.
And you go to the parole board after that. If your homeboys know you're there, they'll hit you with the little packages and stuff, some cigarettes and whatnot. Well, we came out to go after 2 weeks. They released all the cells. Probably 10 cells, a couple guys in each cell. And there was a dwarf there in line with us. And we were all standing against the wall in front of our cells waiting to go in line to the classification committee. And a mainliner walked by, took one look at this little black dude, picked him up, put him on a desk, and opened both drawers and said, "That's how you get down." And left him there.
That's how you get down.
Yeah, well, humor goes a long way in there. I was going to tell him a story. We're real political with our rules on what we can watch on TV, who we can talk to, things like that. Who you eat after, who you drink after, where you sit, who you walk and talk with, things like that. Well, my cellie and I were watching the Cosbys one night, and we were stoned. And Tracy, all kind of weed smoke blowing out of the cell. And this one cat that I bailed out of heroin debt twice walks by and looks in the window and sees us watching the Cosbys, which is a violation.
A major violation.
For our rules. So you're going to get taxed, and it ain't going to be nice. So he splits. We change the channel real quick, and then 4 heads come back, and they're all peeking in the window. And he goes, "You were watching the Cosbys, man. You guys are fucking burned up." And I told him, "You know what? That was a fucking Jello pudding commercial. Go fuck yourself."
In your ass.
So even though, we lived by certain rules, there was still a level of humor that carried us through and camaraderie. That's one of the things I do miss, but I still carry that humor with me,
Every day, bro.
It doesn't really matter back then whatever they did, and it was just a direct result of my actions, and I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not sorry about those things that I did. I'll make amends for those things that I did, but a lot of the things I'm probably not humanly capable of feeling that. But if it comes to an animal, I'm different with animals. I had a cat die, and I love this cat, and it really messed me up. But I've watched people die and leave and everything like that, and it just doesn't faze me like it did because of the transitory lifestyle that prison provides. You know, you're going to have a friend, yeah, but you know in the end, you came in alone, you'll go out alone.
For sure.
And that's the way it is. And it's a sad, sad life, man. I've seen acts of desperation, raised guys up after they had hung themselves. Just, you know, human degradation at its lowest. But also I've seen the human spirit survive there. With one person in particular, I won't mention him by name, but I met him in 1981. He was already in the hole. And I have a lot of great respect for this man. He saved my life the first night that I was there. They said I tried to smuggle a gun into LA County Jail to shoot a deputy. I ended up in 1750 with
1750s are high power.
Some federal, the feds said this and that about me, who I was hanging out with wasn't kosher. They were organized crime. So that's what they said. I didn't even know where I was at. And that when you try and smuggle a gun into a jail to hurt a deputy, the other deputies tend to frown on that. So the first night they came down to get me at 2 in the morning and said, "You're going to sergeant's court, get ready," and left. And they had walked on the tier that they never walk on. And then I got a note saying, "This is what you better do so you can survive the night. They're going to come back down here and try and kill you." And so I shampooed the front of the floor. I got a mattress and a knife, and I stood back there and I waited for them to come with their little electric charges, their taser gun. And I stood in the back. They took one look. They didn't want a part of that, and they left. And I didn't know to do those things. And the person that was there, who was already in the hole in 1981, and I'm sure he went there in the late 70s, barely was released 2 years ago out of the hole. But I can tell you this, I know that man remains strong. He taught me what to do with my mind, to draw, to keep myself busy, to keep myself up. He taught me how to survive in there. And other than, you know, he didn't owe me anything, you know, just out of the kindness of his heart, as bad as a person as they say he is, I know that person has a good heart, you know, and I'm glad that he finally got out of the hole. That's a long time to be in the hole. You figure 80s, it's 2017. So
90s, 2000,
yeah,
2010s.
45 years or so in the hole. You know, I met a lot of guys that were great courage, strong people, good people.
We like to call them heavy hitters.
Yeah, and he is. No doubt about it.
Still doing for others when he can't have nothing done for him, you know, reaching out and letting one of these pups know this is how you have to behave tonight if you want to survive the evening. You know, that's a serious heavy hitter. So, you know, I'm glad that he was there for you at the time. Fortunately, we don't have to live that way today.
No.
I appreciate you putting your shit out there. You know, you have a lot of shit going on in your life right now, and I hope somebody grabs on to what you're saying, Jay. You know, like you said, we're all men now. You know what I mean?
Getting pretty old.
It sucks because you look in the mirror and that's the only place you see it.
You know,
you don't feel it inside, right?
I know you guys can relate to I'll never make it to 21.
For
and
sure.
After I did, I went, well, what now? You know? A lot of things that I never thought would happen have happened for me. I've got really good people in my life, man, and that's important to me. And I recommend that you open up and talk to somebody about what's really going on. It's being transparent with how you feel. And if you don't know how you feel, it brings a level of honesty, and it'll take you from a bad place to a good place with a good solution, as long as that energy is directed in the right path and not on the wrong path. I don't think that I'm a bad person. Those are just things that I've done. It's not who I am. I find out who I am on a daily basis by making myself available. I'm glad to be out here. It's a privilege, and I know that my friends that are never going to see the light of day that know me would be proud of me for finally making it. You know, and I'm not saying that I've made it. Just to be a member of society and not be afraid of going back, no warrants or anything like that, is a major accomplishment. Oh, and I voted too.
Shut the fuck up. Respect, Doug.